To help you divide up your pot into a grid, the first thing you can do is take a piece of paper and you're going to want to fold it in half. And then you're going to fold it in half a second time. So you get two small squares. This will divide it into quarters. So if you're going to divide up your pot into 4 pieces, this would work good. But we want 8. 8 is a good number. 6 also works good. An easy way to do 8 is to then fold it at a diagonal and fold it diagonal the other way. This will make 8 equal sections on your pot. An alternative to using paper like I'm doing is to use a commercially available tool to help you divide up your pot. There are some awesome ones out there, and they really work good, especially for your odd numbers. It's hard to fold a piece of paper in an odd number. Even ones are easy because you can fold it in half and then fold it in half again. But the odd numbers are a little bit harder to get. And recently on Ceramics Arts Daily on their Facebook page, they posted this really handy tool. So you can go check that out. It's a really fantastic. It's got the odd numbers and the even numbers on there. That's a really great tool. But if you don't have any of that and you're just working in your studio and you need something to use, this paper method works great for, especially for even numbers like 8. So you're gonna take your pot and you're gonna put it on there. You're gonna try to center it up as best as you can. And then you're going to take a tool and you're gonna make a mark at all of the lines. Now I drew my lines on here so after I folded it so you could see it on the camera, but you don't need to do that. You'll be able to see the folds fine. So I'm gonna make a mark.
On every line, go all the way around.
And the reason why you do this, the reason why we divide it up, if you're trying to get a pattern to go all the way around, you might get all like halfway around or 3/4 of the way around and it fits perfect. But when they meet together, it's hard to get them to meet evenly. But if you've got to divide it up evenly with the paper, you know that when you get around, if you put the same pattern in each box, it's gonna fit together perfectly when you get to the end. So that's the purpose of this. It really does help. Next, we're gonna use watercolor to draw vertical and horizontal lines. Now the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna use those marks to help us make our vertical lines. And it's almost impossible to draw a straight line on a curved pot. So the stick, if you get a stick or any type of piece of lumber or anything with a flat edge, you can use that. It has to have a 90-degree corner on it. You can use that to help you make a vertical line. I have a really simple trick. So what I do is I take my stick and I put it on flat on the table. That's really important. And I line it up with my mark. Most of the times it doesn't work if you put it on the banding wheel. If your pot's usually too wide, so do it on the table. And I'm gonna use those watercolors. Remember, the watercolor is gonna burn out. And I'm gonna go around, you can pick any color. If you make a mistake, you can either wipe it off or you can switch colors. And I'm gonna line this up with the mark, it's flat on the table, and I'm gonna guide the paintbrush right on that line. It's gonna make a nice vertical. The trick here is to let the stick do the work. You want to push that paintbrush onto the stick. You're going to line it up with the next mark. And I'm going to push against that stick and make a straight line. And you can see how it goes from narrow here, wide, and then back to narrow. That's the whole reason for the grid. So I'm gonna go all the way around and do that, and then we're gonna make horizontal lines. Now that you have your verticals on, you can do your horizontals, and you wanna make sure for this step that your pot is as centered as you can get it. I'm gonna use the lines and the banding wheel to help me center it up as much as possible. And keep in mind that none of this is permanent. The paint is gonna burn away. So I'm gonna use my brush again, and I'm gonna estimate every about 2 to 3 inches. I'm trying to go for about the same thickness as my parallel vertical lines to make that same thickness going up. But because the vertical ones change, you kind of have to take an average. So I'm gonna go for about this wide for my horizontal stripes. And I'm using my elbows braced against the table edge. I'm gonna spin this slowly, and I'm gonna creep up on it, and I'm gonna draw my horizontal lines. Again, I'm going for about the same width as my verticals. Now you can see why this grid is important. You now have the same grid on your pot that you did before when you sketched it out on the paper. And you can easily transfer this paper design onto your pot because you have this grid, and all the squares are gonna meet up as they go around, and it's all gonna fit perfectly. Just your pattern's gonna get bigger and then smaller because of the shape of the pot. I like to paint mine on with watercolor before I carve it. You could also use a dull pencil. I always find it's better to practice it, and remember, the watercolor is gonna burn out. Since you're gonna be doing this in a grid, it can be nice to do it systematically and start in one spot and do the same movement all the way around to help you keep it even. So I'm gonna start right here, and each one I'm gonna go from this edge here down to the middle, and I'm just gonna do that in every box, and then I'm gonna go around and do the same thing in each box to help me do it quicker and more accurately. If you get in a rhythm, it can be really easy to keep this accurate and the same. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. That rhythm is really gonna help me keep it even. Now that I've gone all the way around once, I'm gonna keep on going until my pot is filled with the pattern. So my next move is from here to here. I'll do that all the way.